All right. Well, a happy good morning to you. CPI is out, and it came in lower than expectations. We're expecting 7.9 year over year. It came in at 7.7 year over year. Core 0.6 was expected, came in at 0.4 year over year. And you can see SPY QQQ exploding on this. But what I really care about is TLT. That's the smart money. TLT is up 2%. That's very good for risk assets. And you can see ARK-K reacting up 8.7%, and Bitcoin here up 5%. So that's good news. Now we'll talk about some specific stocks in a second, but where could it go from here? I know actually Avi was saying we're good for Elliott wave move at this point for 395 to 401 on the 200-day moving average. I always like to see if that matches what I look at, and it roughly does. That's near the 200-day moving average. So I like it when we're in agreement there. Now, before that, though, you can see on the SPY, we have the top of this candle yesterday or 2 days ago at 385. We're gapping above that. So that's good news to test the next resistance, which is going to be the top of this candle, 390. So I think at this point, this is aiming for 390 in the near term, maybe even today. Okay. So possibly 390 now. And then maybe a swing move up to the 400. So that's what we're looking at on SPY and on QQQ. Opening this chart for the first time with you. This is very clear. 50 DMA resistance at 278. So, ooh, that's a big, important key resistance. It's been, it's been consistent to. It's been adhering to. So, that's a spot. Maybe if it hit there, I might take some off the table on big cap tech plays. Now, there were a bunch of earnings last night I wanted to go over. Interestingly enough, though, I wanted to highlight both Meta and GFS this morning. I had it at the top of my list because I'm like, if CPI comes out good, those are the two I would have jumped on. Why? Well, I've been talking about the last couple of days because they've had relative strength the last few days. Even as the market was dying, Meta was doing really good. I've been consistently banging on the table here since the open on Monday, that with a $112 price target for Meta. The sentiment is turning around this story. The technicals really good still. The RSI low, the MACD flip, the 20 DMA at 112. I mean, everything is just perfect with this, heading for 112. That I had at the top of my list was GFS. I pointed this out yesterday in the room that I had a really nice chart and nice close. It was holding its gains very well yesterday after really blowout earnings the other day. So these are the top two I had on my list to potentially buy this morning, but it just gapped up too fast. You couldn't really act on it. So instead, I did have some GFS. I sold at 63.85, hoping I can get in a pullback. So today, my game plan as far as day trading is going is looking for these liquid, big cap names, big tech names on pullbacks. I'm going to try to get into them, whether it's I'm not comfortable personally because I never really did it trading like mega caps like Meta. So I'm passing that along, that information to my colleague to be able to do that trade. Maybe I'll get into mega caps later, but in any case, that's one way to play this. Another way to play this is look for stocks that are lagging, right? And I identified RELL really quick this morning. RELL, it pulled back. This is a market move here, right? Now 23.80 was yesterday, and all this was influenced by the market. It's got to make that up, right? And it's right at the 20 DMA. So I think this is something that can quickly, when the market opens, get back into that mid 23s, maybe even high 23s, and maybe more. Let me just compare that to QQQ. Where were we yesterday? Yeah, I would say I think RELL has a chance for the mid 23 to 24 level today is possibly in play. Now it's too illiquid to play in pre-market. That's something I'd be watching. So catch-up plays, right? What else could be a catch-up play? I quickly had pulled up AIR this morning, but this reacted very fast, right? If you were quick to the trigger, you could have gotten that. So, maybe I'll watch AIR for pullbacks or selling puts on a pullback or something possibly. But I don't have a lot of faith, in terms of swing trade right now, even though I gave you those targets. So I'm really personally just looking for day trades. I own all of these stocks in my IRA long-term, AIR, RELL. We'll talk about Celsius in a second. All right. Another tranche of stocks you could look at is high risk. Now let's talk about the ARK-K bucket. What's impacted by ARK-K? It's going to be stocks like GOEV, XXII, these high-risk companies that are losing money. They need access to capital. And when TLT goes up, that's lower interest rates. That's good for companies that need capital. In fact, in a very direct way for GOEV, because they are trying to get non-dilutive capital. So there's an interest rate obviously going to be attached to that. So that's really good news for GOEV. So we have to now pivot to kind of talk about earnings for a second. I skipped Celsius. I get right back to it. But since then I'm on GOEV, this had a report that was very interesting. The press release, they acknowledged right up front their need for capital and their effort to get non-dilutive capital. And I love that. I love it when management comes out like right at the top and they hit it head on with what's important. And they're keenly aware of this, and they're really trying their hardest to access non-dilutive capital, and their revenue and their not their revenue yet, but their backlog and their orders, their committed order book is strong as ever. And it seems like some of that order book from companies like Walmart, these are like binding offers, binding contracts, and it looks like they're going to be able to get loans against that to help fuel the growth. The CEO, very, very impressive last night. So I played this a couple times already, in and out for some trades. I held a nice amount overnight. I flipped it at 137 this morning. I got back in at 129 just a few minutes before the show started. I think GOEV is one that, should really surge. This was already moving, I think, on the earnings release, but with risk assets on fire and rates coming down today, rate expectations coming down today, I wouldn't be surprised. Now, I'm not saying it's a guarantee. Nothing's a guarantee, but I wouldn't be surprised if this thing breaks out possibly above 140 and really makes a crazy move today. It's possible, but I'm a little bit suspicious because of this high volume pre-market move we had at 4 a.m. Between 4 and 7 a.m., we had this big move, which really came out of nowhere because last night and after hours, the stock wasn't moving that much, not much volume. And the 4 to 7 a.m. session, I think, is used by a lot of players to manipulate the market. I can't tell you how many times I've seen 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. session, like 20, 30, 40% up, and then the stock crashes down 20, 30% by the end of the day. And I think that's because hedge funds are somehow, they're using Webull, these other platforms that allow you to trade at 4 to 7 a.m. I think they use that sometimes to pump up the stock and then sell in mass, sell in volume to retail, once markets open. So I'm a little bit suspicious that something like that might be going on there. But given the macro tailwind today and markets are still moving up, betting that could overcome any possible shenanigans that may be going on with GOEV this morning. So so far the moves I made, I sold GFS. I hoping to get back in. Maybe if it drops, I bought some GOEV, and I also bought some XXII. This one also falls in the bucket of risk assets, and it seemed this could be a really good opportunity because this got hit really hard. Perhaps went down too much because you had this sell the news effect that was happening over here. I'm not sure that there was anything in particular fundamentally the market was reacting to. I think this is a catalyst trade, sell the news. So now you got to recover that. And on top of that, you have what's going on with risk assets and rates. So I'm thinking that could be a good bet for possibly a strong move this morning. But the big, easier money is going to be in the big caps, right? So I'll be watching Meta, GFS, Celsius. So Celsius I have up here because they reported earnings last night. And I listened to the whole conference call this morning because there's like no articles anywhere on Celsius for whatever reason, even though they're like a high profile $6 billion company. But it looks like revenue and earnings, everything like beat by mile. The headline EPS numbers look like it missed. That's because a lot of one-time expenses for switching distributors to Pepsi, which, by the way, Pepsi is going to cover those expenses. But the way they do it with accounting, it doesn't show up in the same quarter. I don't know. But in any case, the adjusted EBITDA looks good. It gives them a implied PE of 66 if you annualize $60, 60 PE if you annualize this quarter. So it is a high growth name here, overvalued for fundamentalists, but they're probably going to be growing into it. It's gapping up above the 20 DMA. I have this in my IRA. So this is another stock, and probably you can say this about any high quality, big cap tech names and growth names. Pullbacks today are possibly going to be good day trading opportunities as we continue to see QQQ. This is very hard on a day like today. because it's like it's up so much. Do you buy the gap up here? Are we going to pull back? Are we going straight for a big squeeze to these key resistance levels? I don't know. That's hard. Okay, I really don't know. So that's why I took the opportunity to sell some GFS and trying to buy things that haven't yet moved so much this morning. Okay, CANO had earnings last night, so I got killed on this in terms of my trade of the week idea. Don't have any common shares, but I do have leaps that expire in 2 years at 12.50. So they got clobbered because they had to reduce guidance. But I don't know this company very well. I read that press release from them for the first time ever, and this is actually a very high growth company. So even though they missed, they're still growing their year over year revenue by an impressive clip. But they did reduce guidance on revenue and a little bit on their EPS also. Bigger, going forward. Some things are related to cost side that not as favorable. They had to adjust their guidance. So interesting because the market cap to revenue ratio is very low on this one, 800 million market cap. You can see a downgrade here. So they obviously are kind of going to need help, whether it's money or buyout. That's why they've been in those buyout talks, I believe. But let me see if we have that revenue ratio here. If I can look it up. I don't have it offhand, but it does seem like a compelling valuation from a revenue perspective, and they're growing so fast. And again, the question is money, and that's why it is being hit. So I don't know. I got my speculative leap options, which I'm probably down like 95% on right now, but you can't win them all. And actually, in this year, you'd be lucky if you won 40% of your bets. So that's what's going on with CANO. Now, KMPH had earnings last night, and personally, I was not impressed. I thought we were going to see a nice amount of revenue starting to come in from their main drug, which is approved on the market, that they have a partnership with Corium on. But as it turns out, going through this press release and I'm trying to figure things out, went on social media, and maybe this is publicly disclosed before, maybe I missed it, but it looks like the royalty rate on that drug is minuscule, like a fraction of 1%, and it's not really impacting the revenue too much. So I was a little taken aback by that. I did not realize that we're now below the 200 DMA. I don't like this stock at this point. So I'm going to be looking to reduce my position at the best prices I can. KMPH just did not like that situation. SMSI earnings came out, was completely in line. People were expecting more. It dropped last night in after hours. It's just back about break even. It's really close to its 52-week low here. In after hours last night, it went to a new 52-week low, but we know those don't count in the official stats. Now, the commentary in the press release, very bullish. I was not on the CC, so definitely interested to gauge the sentiment. If anyone listened to that CC, you have a particular sentiment you want to share from that conference call, some qualitative information about what's going to happen in the future, certainly share that with us in the room. Couple others I wanted to just keep track of. AGRO, I don't know the stock well. It's a agriculture company. They're profitable. They have cash flow. They give dividends. It looks cheap, but their year-over-year numbers really coming down, so it doesn't really interest me. Just to let you know about that. We're following PTE. Made a bad trade on this, I guess. This got the $1.25 non-binding offer to buy out the company. So Matt did respond to us, and he thinks they're going to get a higher buyout at some point, but we'll have to see what happens with that. And that brings into the conversation ACD. Oh, wow. ACTG did report earnings this morning. I didn't really look at it because they have a pending buyout offer at $5.25, or rights offering at $5.25. So seems to be a market likes that news there. But, this is something that could continue to be a good investment. 525 expected to be available to you first quarter of 2023, in just a few months from now, if you want to sell your shares at 525. So thank you, Matt, for giving us that idea, unless that falls through somehow.
Also, you may not be able to sell all your shares. It depends how many people participate and how much money that buyer is willing to put up in that rights offering. BCRX had some news this morning, which looked good. Take a look at it if you'd like. I really don't have an opinion on how that could impact the price today, but you can go ahead and take a look at that news on Orladeo. Seems like it's positive data, but in this market environment, not so sure it's going to have a huge impact. DWAC continues the downward move. Got to be careful here. I'm not trading this, but let's see what the latest odds are. It's not just about the remaining races, but there is some speculation that Donald Trump may delay his announcement on Tuesday, at least a lot of pressure for him to delay the announcement because the balance of Senate may come down to a Georgia runoff in the beginning of December. So people do not want him to distract from that runoff race in Georgia. Now, who knows? That may not end up even coming to fruition because the Republicans have to win either Nevada or Arizona, which are still counting. If they lose both Nevada and Arizona, Georgia doesn't matter anymore. Okay, so keep this is a political stock. That's it. And DWAC moves on the sentiment based off of Donald Trump's fortunes. That's it. So remember that. Yeah, you can look at the technicals here. So $19. I'm not trading this right now, but I might take a small speculative position in it maybe later this week, depending on how the Senate polls come out. If it still looks like he'll announce on Tuesday morning and we're at a technical support level, maybe I'd take a risk on that. You can see RUM is up this morning just based on the market moving. So that's obviously has better fundamentals behind it, and it's not going to move one-to-one with DWAC at all. It's kind of a different story at this point, but sometimes you get sentiment tailwinds with it. But in this case, it's not really applying or relevant. All right, so look, there's going to be tons of stocks here today. Square, look at this. Let's just take a look. There's Canoe. All right. So, I saw Square up 10%. There it is. Square up 10%. Global E up 10%. Those are two quality companies. So, I'd be looking at more of these quality companies: Shopify, Square, the ones I mentioned here, Celsius, GFS. And QQQ keeps going up. So, very, very tough market to trade. I'm just going to look personally. You can do it the way you want, but I'm not going to chase it. Meta keeps going up. I'll advise people who are in it since like $98 or $93, and I mentioned it, that 112 is the target. So you can trade it how you like. Not necessarily will it get there, but I think there's a very high chance it gets there. Wow, at this rate, it might get there today. So, all right, good luck, guys. Thanks for joining us. And if you're not a StoryTrading VIP, you can hop on over to StoryTrading.com, get a free trial for 7 days, and join us every morning. And we have events throughout the week as well to make sense out of markets, discover the story behind the trade. It's all about you and collaboration. I'm just a spokesperson here. I try to aggregate the data talked about in the community. Most of these ideas, come from people in the community and insights they provide. I just put it all together for everyone. So definitely get involved. Go in those WhatsApp rooms. Tell us what you're thinking. If you see a great opportunity, if you see some news, if you have some insights, sentiment insights, fundamental insights, share that with the community. And we are off to the races. Hope everyone has a great day. We'll have to look at TRT. TRT, take a look at that. We got to run, and I'll see you later.